Alex had never expected moving into a shared apartment on Viralia to be so strange. The Viralia Space Academy was renowned for bringing humans and aliens together, but nothing could have prepared him for his roommate. Lyra, a Zitherian, was not only beautiful in a way that seemed almost unreal, but also graceful, poised, and completely mysterious. Her skin shimmered faintly in the light, her eyes held colors Alex couldn't name, and there was a quiet intensity in her presence that made the entire room feel charged. He had arrived at the apartment just a week before, lugging his small case through the corridor. Lyra had been there already, sitting cross-legged on a floating cushion, adjusting the gentle hum of a plant-like device that responded to her touch. She had nodded politely when he entered, speaking in soft, melodic tones that Alex could barely understand. "You must be Alex," she said, her voice calm yet musical. "I hope you do not mind the arrangements." Alex had smiled awkwardly, trying not to stare. "No, of course not. It's fine." He had spent the first few days cautiously navigating the apartment. Lyra had a routine, and he was careful to respect it. She never asked him to do anything for her, but there was a sense that one wrong move could be disastrous. Still, he thought humans were good at figuring things out. As an engineer, he was confident that he could adapt. It was 2 days ago when Alex noticed the first odd signs. Lyra's movements had become more abrupt. The way she touched the plants in her corner seemed more urgent. There was a constant low hum in the room that Alex had not noticed before, and the glowing crystals on her shelves flickered with unusual energy. "Is everything okay?" Alex asked cautiously one evening as he returned from his rounds at the academy. Lyra paused and looked at him. Her eyes, deep violet with streaks of silver, seemed almost reflective. "It is the season," she said, her voice low. "The Zitherian mating cycle begins soon." Alex blinked. "Mating cycle?" Her head tilted slightly as if considering how much to reveal. "It happens once every 3 cycles of our orbit. It is intense, emotional, physical, and psychological. We try to control it, but it can overwhelm." Alex swallowed. "You mean like dangerous?" "Not usually for Zitherians," she said, a faint tension in her voice. "But for humans, the effects are unpredictable. You may notice unusual energy around me, strange sensations. I apologize if it is uncomfortable." Alex nodded, trying not to panic. He had studied alien species in school, but Zitherians were always described as beautiful, intelligent, and deeply mysterious. No one had ever told him that their mating cycle could make their roommate's apartment feel like a storm of energy. The next morning, Alex woke to find the apartment transformed. Lyra had rearranged everything. Plants were floating gently, their leaves spinning slowly, releasing faint, shimmering spores. The crystals on the shelves glowed in a slow pulse, and the entire room seemed to vibrate subtly. Lyra was in the center, her arms raised, humming in melodic tones that resonated in Alex's chest. He froze. Lyra?" She opened her eyes, and for a moment Alex felt as if the room itself was looking at him. "Do not be afraid," she said softly. "This is part of the cycle. It will pass." Alex stepped carefully around the floating plants. "Right, okay, so should I, leave?" "No," she replied. "It is better if you stay. Humans, your species, has a stabilizing effect. You may not understand why, but your presence calms me." Alex blinked. "I calm you?" She gave a small nod. "Yes, you are. Unpredictable. Your emotions are strong yet steady. It interferes with the cycle in a helpful way." Alex swallowed. This was a lot to process. "So, I'm like some kind of emotional anchor?" Lyra's expression softened faintly, almost imperceptibly. "If you will it that way, yes." Over the next few hours, Alex tried to help without really understanding what he was doing. He moved gently through the room, careful not to touch the glowing crystals. He tried to speak normally, but every word he said seemed to carry extra weight in the strange atmosphere. Lyra responded to him subtly, her breathing slowing, the plant stabilizing, the hum in the room decreasing. Then it happened. Lyra's hands brushed over one of the larger crystals, and a sudden burst of energy shot through the apartment. Lights flickered, the plant spun wildly, and the hum became a low roar. Lyra's eyes widened in panic. Alex acted without thinking. He reached toward her, holding his hand steady. "Lyra, it's okay. I've got you." For a moment, something strange happened. The energy seemed to recognize him, bending around Alex's presence. Lyra's hands froze and she let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. The crystal's glow dimmed to a soft pulse. You did that, she said, her voice barely a whisper. I don't know how, Alex admitted, feeling his heart race. I just stayed here. She gave him a faint, grateful smile, the first real one he had seen. Humans, you are remarkable. Alex felt his cheeks heat up. Thanks. That evening, the Academy sent a notice. The mating season energy surge was beginning to spread. Zetherian officials were monitoring the situation closely, warning that the surge could affect other Zetherians nearby. Alex glanced at Lyra, who was sitting quietly on her cushion, her hands resting in her lap, the faint glow of energy still surrounding her. We're at the center of it, Alex muttered. Lyra's expression was unreadable. Yes, and now, we must be careful. Others will notice unusual behavior. Humans may not understand fully, but they will watch. Alex's stomach twisted. Watch like for science experiments? Not exactly, she said, her voice measured. Curiosity, concern, misunderstanding. Some may fear what they do not understand. And you are a human. You are unpredictable. The next few days were a mix of chaos and careful observation. Alex did his best to adapt to Lyra's routines, which had grown increasingly complicated. She would spend hours arranging plants, humming, and moving objects in a specific pattern. Alex discovered that his calm presence allowed her to focus. But any mistake he made, like knocking over a crystal or stepping on a plant's roots, would cause her to panic. One evening, Lyra led him to the balcony. The sky was a swirl of violet and gold, the twin moons of Veralia glowing softly. You must understand, she said, her voice low. The mating season is not just physical. It is emotional, spiritual, and mental. Zetherians experience visions, dreams, memories. Some are overwhelming. Others are beautiful but dangerous if uncontrolled. Alex looked at her. And I can help you with this? She gave a small nod. You are different. Humans can anchor Zetherians. You can withstand what we cannot. But you must be careful. The energy is strong, and it is spreading. That night Alex barely slept. He lay on his bed, listening to the soft hum of the apartment, the faint glow of the plants casting shadows on the walls. He could feel the pulse of Lyra's energy from across the room, a rhythm that seemed to echo with his own heartbeat. He realized that he had no choice but to stay strong, to remain calm, even though he had no idea how dangerous this could become. The next morning, the chaos escalated. The energy surge had begun to affect the Academy. Doors vibrated, lights flickered, and a few Zetherians were moving erratically, unable to control their emotions. Alex and Lyra were at the center, their apartment acting like a stabilizing force. Lyra's crystal pulsed in a steady rhythm, and she moved with grace, her body glowing softly as she channeled the energy. Alex followed her lead, improvising ways to calm the energy. He adjusted crystals, moved plants, and spoke softly. Slowly, the apartment's chaos began to settle. Lyra's energy remained high but under control. She looked at him with something close to awe. You helped more than you know, she said, her voice soft. Humans, you have a resilience that Zetherians do not. You can withstand the surge. Alex smiled, exhausted. I just stayed here. You didn't have to panic. The room was quiet for a moment, a calm after the storm. But the holographic alert from the Academy flickered on the wall. The energy surge was spreading faster than predicted. Other Zetherians were beginning to sense it, and they would come to investigate. Alex swallowed. Looks like this isn't over. Lyra gave a faint smile. No, it has just begun. As the twin moons of Veralia shone brightly outside, Alex realized he was now at the center of something far bigger than himself. The Zetherian mating season was unpredictable, powerful and dangerous, but somehow he was part of it. And despite his fear, he felt a spark of curiosity and courage. He was human. And humans, Lyra had said, were remarkable. The apartment hummed softly, plants swayed gently, and the crystals pulsed in rhythm. Outside, the Academy watched, and Alex knew that the coming days would test him in ways he had never imagined. Yet he was ready, or at least he hoped he was. The mating season had begun, and Alex was not alone. The next morning, Alex woke to a soft, pulsing light that filled the apartment. Lyra was already awake, floating gently above the cushion, her violet eyes reflecting the glow of the crystals. The energy in the room felt heavier today, more insistent, as if the apartment itself was alive and responding to the Zetherian mating season. "Good morning," Alex said cautiously, trying to sound confident even though his stomach was tight with worry. "How are you feeling?" Lyra tilted her head, considering him for a long moment. "Better. The surge is strong but stable. Your presence, it helps. Humans have a calming influence." Alex nodded, trying to process it. "So I'm like some kind of emotional shield?" She gave a faint smile. "Perhaps. But it is more than that. You absorb part of the energy, redirect it. You are resilient," Alex blinked. "Resilient? I'm just..." Lyra's gaze softened. "Exactly. You are human. That is why it works." He tried to shake off the strange feeling that his normality was somehow extraordinary. He dressed quickly, careful not to disturb any of the floating plants or crystals. Today he had to help Lyra more than ever. The Academy had sent warnings that the mating season energy was beginning to affect other Zetherians nearby. By mid-morning, the apartment was filled with a soft glowing haze. Lyra floated above a circle of plants and crystals, humming in melodic tones that made Alex's chest tingle. He noticed how the plants responded to her energy, their leaves pulsing with light and faint vibrations. "What should I do?" he asked, stepping lightly around the circle. "Stay calm. Do not interfere unless necessary. Speak softly. Your voice. It anchors me." Alex swallowed. He never imagined that something as simple as speaking could have such power. He tried to match the calm he felt inside with the words he spoke. "It's okay, Lyra, I'm right here. You're safe." The room seemed to respond. The glow of the plants dimmed slightly, the crystals pulsed more steadily, and Lyra's movements slowed, her breathing becoming more controlled. Alex realized that even his human presence was enough to stabilize the energy in the apartment, and possibly beyond. But the peace did not last. By midday, a series of soft alarms went off from the Academy. The energy surge was spreading faster than expected, and other Zetherians were beginning to feel its effects. Some were wandering the halls, confused and agitated. Alex looked at Lyra. "This isn't going to stay contained, is it?" She shook her head, her hair shimmering faintly in the pulsing light. "No, we must prepare. The surge is strongest at night. That is when the Zetherian instincts are at their peak. You must be ready." Alex felt a flutter of fear. He had managed to help her so far, but now it was going to get harder. The stakes were higher, and he didn't fully understand what could happen. As night fell, the apartment glowed brighter than ever. The crystals floated in intricate patterns, and the plants released faint sparkling spores. Lyra moved gracefully among them, humming in rising tones that resonated with the pulse of the energy. Alex followed her instructions carefully, moving crystals, adjusting plants, and speaking softly when she seemed anxious. Suddenly, there was a loud crackle of energy from one of the larger crystals. A surge of light shot across the room, and Lyra gasped, almost losing her balance. Alex reacted instantly, stepping between her and the crystal, holding out his hands. "I've got you. Don't worry." The energy seemed to bend around him. Lyra's breathing slowed, and she lowered herself gently onto her cushion. You controlled it," she whispered, her voice trembling with a mixture of awe and relief. I just stayed calm," Alex admitted, feeling both proud and nervous. "It worked, though." Lyra's eyes softened. "Humans, you are extraordinary. I never expected a Zetherian mating season to be manageable, but you make it so." Alex smiled faintly. "I guess I'm just lucky." The surge continued into the early hours of the morning. Alex stayed close, never leaving Lyra's side. He noticed small details he hadn't before. The subtle way her eyes shifted colors with her emotions, the faint scent of her natural pheromones that filled the room, and the way the plants seemed to respond not just to her energy, but also to his presence. It was a delicate balance, and he could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. At one point, Lyra paused and looked at him directly. "Alex, I need to trust you fully. Do not panic no matter what happens." Alex nodded. "I won't, I promise." She reached out, placing her hand lightly on his shoulder. A wave of warmth and energy passed through him. He felt connected to her in a way he had never experienced before. It was strange, almost like he could sense her thoughts, emotions, and fears all at once. He realized then that the bond between them had grown stronger than he understood. Hours passed. The surge reached its peak and the apartment became a whirlwind of light and energy. Lyra moved with incredible grace, her hands guiding the flow of the energy. Alex followed her lead, acting as her anchor, his steady presence keeping her from being overwhelmed. The experience was exhausting but exhilarating. He had never felt more alive. Finally, as the first rays of Virelia's sun peeked through the window, the surge began to dissipate. The apartment settled into a gentle glow, the plants swaying softly and the crystals pulsing with faint light. Lyra sank onto her cushion, breathing heavily but steadily. You did it," she said, her voice filled with awe. "Together we controlled the surge." Alex smiled, though he was exhausted. "We did it. You were amazing, Lyra. I just helped a little." She shook her head. "No, you were more than that. Your presence, your calm, it saved me, and perhaps others as well." Alex looked around the apartment, taking in the aftermath. The plants were slightly wilted but intact. The crystals had minor cracks but still glowed, and the room had a peaceful, serene feeling. He realized how unusual this was. Humans were rarely part of alien rituals, and yet here he was, central to one of the most powerful Zetherian events in decades. Lyra reached out and lightly touched his hand. "Alex, I owe you more than I can express. Humans, you are remarkable in ways even we cannot predict." Alex laughed softly, feeling a mixture of pride and disbelief. "I guess I'm just me." "No," Lyra said, her eyes shining. "You are extraordinary. And now we must recover. There may be more surges in the future, but we have proven that humans and Zetherians can work together. Perhaps even more than work together." Alex felt a warm rush at her words, though he didn't fully understand what she meant. He nodded. "I'll be here. Whatever comes next, I'll stay." In the following days, life returned to a semblance of normalcy. The Academy officials had taken notice, quietly observing the results of the mating season surge and Alex's role in stabilizing it. Other Zetherians came to him with cautious respect, curious about how a human could withstand the energy without faltering. Alex found himself explaining his simple approach, staying calm, observing, and responding naturally. Lyra continued her routines, but with more confidence, knowing that Alex was there. Their bond grew stronger, built on trust, mutual respect, and the shared experience of surviving one of the most chaotic events in Zetherian society. One evening, as they sat together on the balcony overlooking the colorful skies of Virelia, Alex felt a sense of accomplishment he had never known. "You know," he said, "I never imagined I'd be part of something like this. I thought I'd just be a roommate, not a hero in an alien mating season." Lyra smiled faintly, her hand brushing against his. "Hero is not the right word, but important. You are important, Alex. To me, to the Zetherians, and perhaps to the galaxy." Alex laughed softly, shaking his head. "I'm just a human." "No," Lyra said firmly. "You are a human, and that is what makes you extraordinary." The twin moons of Virelia glowed softly in the distance. The apartment was quiet, the plants swaying gently and the crystals pulsing with calm light. Alex realized that his life had changed forever. He had faced an alien mating season, survived, and discovered that humans were capable of more than he had ever imagined. As he looked at Lyra, a faint smile playing on her lips, he knew one thing for certain. Life with a Zetherian roommate during mating season was unpredictable, chaotic and sometimes terrifying, but it was also extraordinary, and he was ready for whatever came next. The energy of Virelia pulsed softly around them, a reminder that the galaxy was full of surprises, and that humans, in their unpredictability, could make a difference. Alex had survived the storm, and in doing so, had proven that even in a universe filled with powerful aliens, a human could shine.